How's everyone doing? Back with another live stream, another bug stream. I guess so it's been a couple weeks since I made one of these, and I figured I'd just do it now because I'm bored and got a bit, just not that much maintenance to do today. I already did most of my maintenance yesterday, so really just my Darklings and my Click Beetles, and that's gonna be it basically. So gonna be a bit of a shorter stream probably. But yeah, I guess let's get it going. Should have prepared everything beforehand, I guess, but I did not have the foresight for that. So I'm gonna start off chopping up some super worms to feed to my clicks. It has been a couple weeks since I fed my click beetle larva, and yeah, it's about that time again. Yeah, let me get a container for the chopped up mealworms. This is good, I guess. Alright. Been catching up on Kyle's dead streams, and yeah, I didn't realize he had gotten engaged and all that. That's awesome. I'm happy for him. Yeah, I've been watching that yesterday while I was doing maintenance, and then I'm like, watching all those made me want to do my stream again, so let's just do it. But yeah, I don't really got much news, to be honest. What did I do? I did maintenance yesterday. I found, finally started getting an ooth. I found an ooth, a very large ooth, from my Aranavaga CF Grata from Pina Blanca, which is great because I think the Aranavaga species Mount Ord is the same species, Grata. So now that I'm having success with the Pina Blanca, my Mount Ords, hopefully once they start maturing, hopefully I'll have success with them. And yeah, it seems the key to those is they like quite a chunky substrate, not very loose, like really chunky. And so I used that Zilla Jungle Mix crap. And then Alan had suggested they like it maybe a little bit more humid too, so I gave him a full 50-50 humidity gradient rather than keeping a quarter or a third of the substrate moist and doing half and half. And after both of those changes combined, started getting loose. So that's great. Finally got another US cordid that I was having difficulty with figured out. So really the only thing I got left to figure out is Eremoblada, which I've gotten several adult females of those now. Just waiting on males to mature. And I think I have 2 sub males in there right now. So it won't be long before I start having to really figure those out as well. What else? I also found more baby Marylandella Ember Bees yesterday in my setup. That's great. Those had like stopped breeding. The original group of adults I got kind of stopped breeding, and seemed to prioritize like growing. And whereas and the first couple litters that they had, though, those babies have been doing great and have had good survival rates, and basically all of them I think are at or very close to sexual maturity right now. But I just found some more babies in there, which I assume are from the older adults. So yeah, that colony's going pretty well. So once I start getting babies from my babies, it's just gonna be a bit of a snowball effect from there, I'm hoping. Interestingly, though, someone just posted pictures of them in their natural habitat of different Marylandella in their natural habitat, and they're from Vietnam, right? And they basically they look to be like almost arboreal in the wild. Like the dude was finding them like literally on foliage and like up in trees and shit. Like so, and that kind of reflects how much they have to climb in captivity. So I really am thinking that they're basically like arboreal. So I might move mine to a different setup with a bit more headspace. Um, and focus more on vertically slanted pieces of bark and lots of leaf litter. Maybe even like a bunch of like fake flowers and fake plants and stuff in there, or live plants. I got a bunch of pothos that I could get cuttings from and grow in a nice container. So I might do something like that. Me and Brandon were talking about like we should do like a setup with those and Pseudogommus magnifica communally, because they like both come from like the same type of habitat in the wild and apparently have the same kind of niche preference as well. That would be an interesting like large planted vivarium with Pseudogommus magnifica, the Marylinellas, and then he was saying he wanted a eyelash viper or something as like the centerpiece for a setup like that. Should be kind of cool. Excuse me. Yeah, so neat. Alright, I'm done murdering superworms. Time to feed them to Eclipia. Need my headlamp. Trying to think. Anything else interesting happened? Isn't that? Yeah, I guess so. No idea. What was I gonna say? I felt like I found another update. Sadly, the Ailuropoda insinus female that I put in with my Electrina javanica, she had a prolapse, so that hybrid project has failed for now. So I'll have to try that again some other time. I think I had even more histories than that. I should be getting some more histories this week, hopefully. I think Kyle sent me a package. Still nothing from my Princessia of Anwar Becky Androhomina. I think those, I don't know. I have 2 females left that are like really plump, but then the rest are just like slowly dying off one by one. So, yeah, I don't know what happened with those. I really don't know. Just got a bad batch of them, maybe. I hope I can get more next year, but it's iffy. So, we'll see. Pseudogommus magnifica strains, for the most part, are doing pretty well. One of my my Kunming copper females just gave birth, even though I had put them into diapons, which is pretty funny. Having northern Vietnam males mature out. Well, a male matured out recently. Pseudogommus area, though, that I got, not doing well. A lot of them have, a lot of the few that I had have died. So, yeah, I don't know with those. I'm probably gonna have to get wild area again at some point, which is a huge bummer. But I really don't know where we screwed up on those, to be honest, because where I thought we screwed up, I mean, I don't know. It could just be that the nymphs I got were already too far gone, too unhealthy to save, even with proper conditions, you know? Like I was talking about, you know, sometimes species get into a death spiral and you can't get them out of that, and so that may just be the case. But yeah, it's like the nymphs don't want to eat. They don't want to grow or anything. And honestly, they may have gotten it. I may have gotten them infected with freaking Serratia or something when I got them. So a lot of them have like really like red exoskeletons, and like they don't feel that hard anymore. Like they're kind of soft shelled. So I think maybe they got Serratia as well, and that is obviously not helping things. So yeah, those might have been too far gone, but I still have a few nymphs left. One adult male, so I don't know. I'm hoping they'll pull through. If I can get one of those female nymphs to mature next year, and the adult male's still alive, like I could potentially do something with that, but it's looking a bit iffy for sure. Yeah, so it's a bummer, but you know, I've done what I can. It may just be that we need to get more wild stock next year, or the year after that, who knows? And hope for, better luck. I would love to get those in Baby Enkoi as well, but in Sculpta, but we'll see. What else? I haven't posted about them on my blog yet, but I did post pictures on like a couple, I think like WhatsApp, some social media. I posted pics of these new camel crickets I got, Pristocyltophilus species, Walnut Creek, California. And ooh boy, those are some neat looking camel crickets for sure. I only had them for less than a week, but so far so good. Haven't had any deaths. Doesn't look like there's any fighting going on. And they're eating. So hopefully they breed and I have another camel cricket to add to the collection. What else? I think I'm covering all the updates I've had so far. No one's even on the stream yet. I am getting some new roaches, some new inverts this week. And by this week I mean in a few hours. Wednesday morning should be getting let's see, Ty. I'm getting some various isopods from Ty. I think I asked him for more blonde duckies, for some Cubar species blue pigeon. May have been another isopod, I can't remember. I think I asked him for Polyphaga aegyptiaca. So there's that, and then Maxwell Wolfgang I did a trade with. I think his end's coming today. Should be some peppered roaches, some question mark roaches, and white out Porcelio Hoffmannseggi. I'm really excited for those. I love me Hoffmannseggi, done very well for me in the past. I got rid of them last year just because I was getting rid of a bunch of stuff in my collection. But yeah, I would love to have the whiteout morph of them. And yeah, because they're big, hardy isopods. And to have a whiteout morph of them, is just really, really cool. So props to him for isolating those, and I'm excited to hopefully have some in my collection real soon. What else? And then Kyle, I think Kyle sent me a package, and even though he's really busy with getting photos with JoJo for his site overhaul, and he's busy with the site stuff in general, it's nice enough he's gonna send me out a box anyways, with a lot of stuff in it, or at least I asked for a lot of stuff, so we'll see what he actually has to give, but definitely I didn't hold my punches in terms of asking for stuff, so yeah, a lot of roaches, some isopods, and other oddball inverts. So hopefully able to send a decent amount of what I asked for. And yeah, my little early Christmas present, I guess. Yeah, I just sent him and Ty sent boxes a couple weeks ago. Oh yeah, so excited for some of these new additions this week. Maybe next week I'll get some more stuff too. So far so good with these Quick Beetles. Looks like I haven't really lost any. Even though I've been skimping on the feeding a bit. I did give them, though, I've started just feeding them chopped up mealworms instead of little compsotes and stuff, so like that's a much more substantial meal, so it lasts them longer in between feedings, so you know, that makes sense. Yeah, you know what, take care of the Pyrophornia as well. These will just get dog food. And then I got some leaf litter in too the other week, which I need to sterilize and start using. Oh, this guy though, I got the leaf litter from someone in Florida, Leo Dutkowicz, long-term friend of mine, and he sent some dead sea grape leaves as well, which I'm going to be using for Plectoptera poi, because I'm going to be getting those from Kyle in this box. That's one of the things that for sure I know I will be getting from him, because he wants to get those into my hands ASAP so that he's not the only person with them. And my issue with those has been finding like good hides for them that don't degrade and that they'll, use. And sea grape leaves are very thick, they don't really decompose rapidly, and if I recall correctly, Alan John, when he collected the Plectoptera poi in the first place, he was finding them in Florida on sea grape plants. So, that's probably like the ideal hide choice for them, so definitely going to be using those in their setup, and hopefully they work well. But yeah, I gotta get all that sterilized, obviously. There's sterilizing leaf litter and stuff has suddenly become like super controversial in the hobby lately, and my stance on it is this: I have had multiple Entomophagus fungi outbreaks in my collection over the years using unsterilized leaf litter and other materials from here in Idaho, because the specific type of trichoderma that I've encountered is one that is frequently used in agriculture as a natural pesticide. And I'm in a very, a lot of agriculture, a lot of farms and stuff out here in more rural Idaho. And those outbreaks have wiped out colonies of very rare stuff, roaches and beetles that I've had that I've not, some of which have been lost from the hobby since then. So, like, my stance on it is I have had things wiped out by not sterilizing leaf litter. I've never had anything wiped out by sterilizing leaf litter. What little nutrients is lost in sterilization does not outweigh the potential harm that you can bring into your collection, especially if you're still offering supplemental foods and stuff, and all that bacteria, that beneficial bacteria and shit should already be in the gut systems of whatever it is you're keeping. As they poop, that will get into the substrate and, you know, colonize it. So, you know, yeah, all that crap. You just sterilize your materials, man. Because what haunts me the most is that I didn't sterilize my leaf litter. Got some darkling beetle colonies infested. Sent darkling beetles that I didn't know were infected until too late to one of my friends, and that fungus spread through his collection and wiped out almost all his darkling colonies. So it didn't just affect me; it affected my friends and their cultures. So when you're not sterilizing your stuff, you could potentially be passing on pathogens to other keepers with the bugs you send them and damage their collection. So it's kind of selfish to not sterilize materials. You know, that's bullshit. So that is my stance on it. You should always sterilize your materials. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and you don't want to end up having what happened to me happen to your collections. Now, isopods, this is where the controversy stems from, is mostly the isopod hobby. Isopods are not really susceptible to a wide variety of the pathogens that I mentioned, so it's not really a problem for isopods per se, but for those of us that keep other insect groups and stuff, you know, that is very much a problem. And you could get isopods from someone and substrate with those pathogens in it, introduce it to your collection that way, and then it ends up getting into your, you know, your beetle enclosures or your roach enclosures, and somehow you did, you know, if you don't wash your hands between doing maintenance and stuff, or even dump in those isopods into like a roach bin or a beetle bin that you want for bioactives, you know, that kind of deal. Can introduce them to your other inverts like that and still end up causing havoc. So really, just that's my stance. Sterilize your stuff. It's well worth it in the long run. What little nutrients is lost is not going to affect your bugs in any substantial way, especially if you're already offering other supplemental foods. So, yeah. Almost done with the click beetles. Well, with the small click beetles. I guess I still have to feed my my larger Elias and Chocolopedius as well. What else? Anything else interesting happen? I got a package from Alan too, also, last week with some Aloides acuta, Aloides longicollis larvae, and some Marava arachnidis. Arachidis. I don't know how it's pronounced, but some small micro earwigs, basically. And they are so cute, the earwigs, and pretty colorful. I haven't gotten pictures of them yet. They are small. They're going to be annoying to get pictures of, I'm sure. But happy to add those to the collection. Never really seriously attempted to culture earwigs before, so this is a new group for me. I also asked Kyle for some of the Euborelia arcanum earwigs as well. I don't know if he has them available at the moment, but hopefully if he does, those will be in my upcoming box from him. So, I'm starting on both ends of the spectrum when it comes to sizes for the earwigs. We got the The largest ones in the hobby and the smallest. Probably the smallest in the hobby. With the Marva. So, yeah. It's pretty funny, I think. I don't know if the Lactodura Riparia, if those are bigger or not than the Euborelia arcanum. They might be. I remember seeing a Lactodura in Florida that was huge, and I was like, oh my god, this is the biggest earwig I've ever seen. It's one of the only earwigs I'd ever seen in Florida, to be honest. There weren't a lot down there. It's not in the area I live. Yeah, these Elaeus, to be honest, have grown a lot from one feeding to the next. Like that, the superworm chunks I gave them seem to have boosted them an instar or two in between feedings, so that's pretty funny. Alright, all the little boys are fed. And now, to feed the big ones. These first, though. Alright. Yeah, I would love, man, I've seen pictures of the Japanese vendors selling these earwigs with what could only be described as antler-like pinchers at the end of their terminal segments. Like, literally, the males at least, the freaking pinchers look like the antlers of deer. Like, they're multi-branched and, like, super curvy and wavy. And they're fairly decent-sized earwigs, too, so I would love to see those make it over to the U.S. hobby one day, but I've only seen them on Japanese vendor lists, and most Japanese vendors do not ship to the U.S. Most Japanese vendors don't ship outside of Japan without permits, because they're very strict over there with their import and export laws. But, man, would love to see him over here. Would love to see him. And one of my friends here in Idaho has the guy who gave me some stuff that was seized by Fish and Wildlife from another person's collection. He's got some superworms that he's breeding, some regular hobby stock superworms, and if he's breed for a couple generations for him without having that yucky virus that's going around in the hobby, I'll probably get some of those off of him and get some clean hobby stock superworms breeding for me. Just so I'll have both wild type and hobby stock superworms free of that virus that is devastating superworm colonies in the feeder industry. Just to keep it safe, keep them in culture in case something horrible happens. I caught a single small unidentified darkling from Melba, Idaho a few months ago that I was hoping was female and would give, lay some eggs, but I don't think she was. So I think it's still alive. Yep, it is. But no larva or anything from it, so I don't think it's probably not female. So, oh well. In Batfume Contusum, one of my restart cultures. We've got some larvae already. I'm not seeing any Entomophagus fungus popping up, so I think I might have a clean culture of those again. My glabrum are like sort of on the up and up. I'm getting a few adults here and there that are maturing and not dying like immediately after maturing, but I did ask Kyle for more of those as well, just so I can boost my colony of them. My Muricotums are doing well. So, and then the Depressum are doing okay too, so, although I think I'm going to have to start isolating those for pupation. But all in all, in Bathium are doing okay in my collection right now, so hopefully this spring I'll have a nice variety of species available. Hey, Martin! First comment on the stream, yes. Hi, TJ. Hi, Martin. Okay, what next? I guess... Oh yeah, I need to feed the other clicks. These guys. I have this one Elaeus leschiosus larva that, mismolted a few months ago, and like months ago it mismolted. I think its enclosure got too dry, and its jaws came out like twice as short as they should be. Like they're absolutely tiny. It can't really pinch stuff. So, and like I tried feeding it a couple things and it was just not really able to chew into stuff that well. So I just kind of resigned to it, like, you know, it was probably gonna die. So I stopped feeding it. I stopped taking care of it, and just let the enclosure dry out. Let the setup, the deli cup, dry out. And I checked on it like a few weeks ago, and the substrate was completely bone dry. There's nothing, no food, completely bone dry. And the larva was still alive, but like really shriveled up, you know, quite dehydrated. But it was, the damn thing was still alive, so like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna try. So I moved it to a much smaller deli cup, a 2-ounce deli cup, instead of one of these like bigger jars. And I've put like beheaded Aloides larva in here, and it's actually been eating. It's been able to. I think what it needed was, because its jaws are so short, it can't really chew up the exoskeleton that well. But if it has the enclosure walls, like the larva is basically like from head to tail, like as long as this deli cup is wide. So I think when it has the wall to like push itself up against, it can push itself into the Aloides larva and like eat it, you know, it's basically shoving itself into the shell of the Aloides larva and eating up all the guts. And so it's actually been eating and gaining some weight. So if it makes it to the next molt, it will probably grow its jaws back to full length and then be able to eat normally again. So, but yeah, so I guess the lesson there is don't give up on stuff that comes out deformed. Sometimes they can make it. But I thought that was pretty funny because that's like really crazy that it still survived. Alright, let's get some Aloides spinipes larva feed. But yeah, it just goes to show though that like click beetle larvae are like some of the hardiest insects I've ever kept are click beetle larvae. It's hard to kill them. It really is. Well, most of them. So, I'm trying to pick out a nice plump one for that deformed larva to chew into. There we go. It's a nice big one. But yeah. So, alright. Give him his food, and then we will move on to the others that I can just literally dump in live larvae. Is he gonna pupate or what? I might not feed this one. This one looks like it's gonna molt. These two, this. Yeah, oh, it looks like I got a Chocolopedius that's gonna pupate. Finally, I got 4 Chocolopedius larvae. Chocolopedius webby larvae left that I'm hoping start pupating soon all at once, because I have one female left alive, one female adult left alive, and no males. And I have 4 larvae left that if they don't mature at the same time, I'm going to end up with no pairs. So, and I think I'm the only one that has webby larvae left, maybe. I don't know if Alan has any left. But I've just been so unlucky with the sex ratio and the staggered maturation rate, so I'm really crossing my fingers I get pairs soon, because if I don't, then that's it for this species and culture. Okay. I'll feed this one too. Alright, so then just some more Laius. Euleus Leschiosus have been maturing at very staggered rates as well. Like, most of mine didn't mature this summer, but 3 did, so hopefully out of those 3 I got a pair. Seems to be the main struggle with click beetles is getting them to mature, you know, getting multiple ones to mature at the same time and getting pairs. And if you get so much as a pair, for most species you'll be fine, but that is the main hurdle. There. And yeah, that one. All we got left. These 2. Sheesh. This setup dried out a bit too much. But yeah, so can't really think of any other real significant collection updates. Oh, my Porcellio bolivari isopods were like really on the down and down. I had a single pair left in their container. And I was like, well, these obviously are on the decline, so they're probably not gonna get established. So I threw in those Porcellio expansus in with them, the ones Alan sent me. And now, all of a sudden, I don't know if it's like the Ali effect or something, but the Porcellio bolivari has started doing very well, and the female just gave birth the other day, so now there's a bunch of bolivari babies. And I know at one point Kai had he was keeping multiple Spanish Porcelli together. I think he and Kyle thought that he had accidentally created Bolivari ex expansus offspring. I kind of doubt they can hybridize, to be honest. And I never saw pictures of Kai's supposed hybrids, so I think I'm still safe in that regard. But obviously, if these Bolivari start doing well, if the babies, you know, start growing and have a decent survival rate, I'm going to have to remove the expanses. Move those to a different setup. Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, you know what, these Bolivari, they're dead. I'm just going to put the expanses in there since they like the same conditions. And the expanses are doing better. And now I'm going to have to move the expanses again because the Bolivari decided to rebound. So, whatever. I mean, I like Bolivari, so I'm glad they're doing well, but of course they decide to do well when I've kind of given up on them. Ain't that how it goes? Alright. Clicks fed. Most annoying part of maintenance, to be honest. Not even annoying, just tedious, feeding all those individual deli cups. Speaking of individual deli cups, a bunch of Aloides longicolis, no, Longipolosa larvae that I have isolated. and need to take care of individually. Chat, live chat. Because, like, I guess I could just put all. I could just. I could have just made a different bin and put all the larvae. Yeah, maybe I should do that. I don't know what. I've got all my. I isolated a bunch of Longipulosa larvae to like coconut fiber and sand because the adults need pure sand to survive, in my experience. But it seems like the larvae are doing well on the mixed substrate, and whereas they were drying out too fast with just the sand. And so I decided to isolate a bunch of larvae into these deli cups and do that, but it would probably just be easier for me to remove larvae as I see them and dump them all into the same communal gallon shoebox bin, and then rear them communally up until pupation size, like I do with all my other aloidins. Maybe I'll do that, because that would be a lot easier than taking care of all these individual deli cups. But I did kind of just want to make sure, though, that they are actually surviving in this kind of a setup, so I guess that's why. I think they are surviving, so I don't know, I'll give it another week or two, and then decide. Where'd the top come from? But yeah. Yeah, like the larger larvae for sure are doing fine. It's the smaller larvae I'm more concerned about. Whether they can dig through thicker substrates properly to find food or not when they're smaller. It's my main question. What was it? My Blattidae species Philippines that I got back from Brandon. Those have started laying eggs. So, I'm excited to start breeding those again. I'm pretty sure literally the only reason I failed to breed those last time was pesticide poisoning, so this gen should do fine. I hope. I like them. They're very like simplistic but pretty blatted. And should be prolific and hardy when kept correctly. But yeah. So that's cool. I really am sad that none of us got the Blattidae species Thailand going. Those are big blattids, but yeah, none of us got those breeding. Sadly. New Year's is coming up. Christmas and New Year's is coming up, and my New Year's resolution is gonna be to get Archiblatta, Darcicera, and Sundablatta into my collection next year. A lot of Asian species, but I want to see a live Archiblatta in person. Like honestly, that's my goal. Like whether I breed them or not, you know. Who cares? I really want to see a live Archiblatta once in my life. So I really want to get those next year, for sure. And then, obviously, Darcicera would be amazing. Sundablatta. I have seen Sundablatta in person before. I brought them in for one of my friends who bought them. Unfortunately, said friend failed to breed them. Unfortunate, but I have seen Sundablatta in person. They are adorable and so pretty, so vibrantly colored. Like the orange on them is almost fluorescent. They're really pretty. the ones we got in were from Singapore. No, yeah, Kuala Lumpur. No, no. Yeah, they were from Singapore, but the person lives in Malaysia, but he went on a trip to Singapore and caught them. But yeah, they surprisingly liked it a little bit more on the dry side. But we didn't realize that until it was kind of late. But they're actually the area in Singapore they're collected from has surprisingly low humidity. So the key to those is probably keep them on like a 50-50 humidity gradient. Decent ventilation. The adults are somewhat territorial despite the fact they're so small. But yeah, man, I would love to try those out myself this year. So that will be my goal, to bring those in and actually keep them myself and try to get them going. Since I have decent luck with the tiny little pseudophilodromids. You know, at least getting them established in the first place. I'm going near the border with Malaysia in late December, so hope to find the real Histrio. Not sure. As far as I'm aware, Archibald basically occur like all across Malaysia. I think they might occur in Singapore. They occur in Indonesia. It's a very widespread species in Southeast Asia. I think there's Thailand records of Archibald, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken on that, but I think that there's somewhere on mainland Asia that has them as well. Archibald hovini, specifically. There's also Archibald beccari from Sumatra, and Archibald Archibaldus, I forget the name. There's a third Archibaldus species in India as well. But yeah, Archibald beccari I would love to get from Sumatra, because those are wingless as both males and females. So those are neat. Those were in culture in Russia once, very briefly, but the person was unable to get offspring from his wild-caught adults. Sadly. But they were in culture one time. But yeah, so you might be able to find Archibald in there. Oh, there's a dead one. Okay. But yeah, so would love Archibald and True Histrio. I have a contact in Malaysia who has True Histrio. He was gonna send me some. I forget what happened. But I think he still maintains them. And then I know a German breeder who has them as well. So I might be able to get those next year too if I really put in the work to source them. Or if you catch them, obviously that'd be great. But those aren't super high on my priority list at the moment. Frittata are prettier in my opinion, anyways. But Sunderbladder, oh boy, I want Sunderbladder so bad. Especially after having seen them in person, they are prettier. They're probably the prettiest pseudophilodromid I've ever seen. To be honest, like very vibrantly colored. One nice thing is I still haven't. I really need to get pictures of my Parasferus species Singapore before my CF flavipes Singapore before the male kicks it, because I want to get pictures of an adult male of a metallic Parasferus. But he keeps hiding in these tiny nooks in the cork bark, which is good. It means they like the cork bark, but I can't get to him. But he's still alive. And it's been like a month. And he was mature for several weeks for the person who had it. So it seems to be one of the species with longer lived Parasferus males, which is great. Because like if it was a Pygmaeus male, it'd be dead by now. So I'm happy that it's one of the species with longer lived males. Too bad the nymphs are so slow growing, because then he might be able to mate with one of the other female nymphs if they would hurry up and grow, but they're so freaking slow growing. But yeah. I'm hoping I should be able to get to Perispheris CF glomeriformis Penne, Philippines, from a European breeder next year. Once his colony goes out a bit more, he has agreed to trade with me. So, I want those really badly. Because those are one of the few metallic Perispheris I know of that actually carry their babies as well, like underneath them. And like even try to like curl up with the babies underneath them is really cool to see. So, definitely want that species. I forget, Martin, if you're still here. Did you ever get those Malaysian metallic Perispheris? I remember you saying some Chinese breeders brought them in, and you were maybe gonna go in on getting some, but I remember you saying something about the group size being pretty small, and you might not get both sexes, so I don't remember if you ever actually got them. Yeah, you didn't get them, okay. Yeah, I figured as much. Top Chinese buyer got them. Well, good luck to him on breeding those. It's kind of a pain starting most of the metallic Perispheris species, especially from nymphs, you know, because they usually the vendors only catch female nymphs, because the males mature at such a smaller size compared to the females. You get some adult females, some wild-caught adult females, you're usually set, but yeah, it can be a pain. So if I get those breeding, that'd be nice. I need more Perispheris in my life. Sadly, for reasons I won't go into here, Jorg, getting stuff from Jorg, Bernhardt in Germany, it's either going to be more difficult from now on, or might be impossible, which sucks because I kind of did a trade with him and I've not gotten my end yet. So I don't know if we'll be able to get Perispheris pygmeus from them ever again. It sucks because again I traded for a group of 50 Perispheris pygmeus and I might not get my end of that. And my Perispheris pygmeus petered out completely, so I need more of those, and no one else in the US hobby has a healthy Perispheris pygmeus culture going, so those are essentially dead here for now. So that's kind of annoying. Wild-caught female. You have pygmeus, wild-caught female with babies. That single one you got? I had no idea it was pygmeus. That little one? Because that was from mainland China, wasn't it? That wasn't from Taiwan. Pygmeus are only from Taiwan. They don't occur on the mainland. So if it's that small species you had that was from mainland China, that shouldn't be pygmeus. When it gave birth, I knew it could only... Yeah, it shouldn't be pygmeus. Yeah. That one, yeah. No. Unless it was from Taiwan, it should not be pygmeus. Yeah. They're only recorded from Taiwan. And what's more than that, I think I already told you in private message the situation with pygmeus, but yeah, no. Either way, though, yeah, it shouldn't be what we have in the hobby. It's from Fujian. Yeah, no, so that shouldn't be pygmeus. Opposite coast of Taiwan. If it's on the mainland, I would highly doubt it's the pygmeus that we have in the hobby. It might be undescribed. It could very well be undescribed. I think there's a lot of undescribed Parasferus in China. I mean, there's a lot of undescribed Parasferus species in general, but it seems like most of the described ones are from like Malaysia and Indonesia and stuff. There's not that many described in China, but there's a lot of species in the hobby that we see come from China and some of the surrounding countries that don't have that many described species in them. So clearly, there's quite a few undescribed species in China, and would photos help somehow? I didn't photograph it yet. Yeah, you can photograph it. And we can check especially the pit formula. If you focus on that, the pit formula and the head, the coloration of the head on the adult females would cinch it. And if those both differ from the hobby pygmeus than we have, then we would know it's not that species. Those are the two important identifying features. But yeah, I would be very surprised if it was the same. It's probably an undescribed species if I had to guess. Either way, though, I'm glad. Those don't balance well. But either way, I'm glad you got those breeding though, because like if they do end up being pygmeus, it's great. You have a locality of pygmeus that for an unrecorded locality from mainland China. That's really cool. But and then if they're not pygmeus, it's probably an undescribed mini species. So still awesome. Yeah, I think literally the only described species of Parasferus in China are like Punctatus and maybe Semilunatus. And there might be one more, but we've seen more. Like we've seen several species from China, more than what is described. So there's clearly a lot of undescribed species that still need to be worked out. So undescribed species and possibly some species that are described but just not recorded from China as well too. But yeah. What else? Trying to think. Oh yeah, I got a trade going on for some Copophora too. Copophora species, Peru, I think? I don't know, I don't need to ask the specific locality. Yeah, from Apollo. I'm getting some Copophora eggs, which I'm really excited to work with those. Which, for those of you who don't know what those are cone-headed katydids, exotic cone-headed katydids, predatory. It's gonna bug the shit out of Alan when the males are mature and chirping, but yeah, those. I'm excited. I've been wanting to work with a species of big predatory katydid for a while now. I don't think these are huge. They're like more medium-sized for a katydid, but predatory katydids I've been wanting to branch into for a while. Finding a reputable source for those in the U.S. is very difficult. So, and only the tropical ones like breed easy, like the U.S. Neobaredius spinosa and the red-eyed devil katydids. Those don't breed easily. They lay eggs easily in captivity, But rearing the nymphs is easy, but incubating the eggs and getting them to hatch consistently at not staggered rates is the issue. That has not fully been cracked yet, to my knowledge. Not with consistent proof, at least. The Copepophora are easy, so I'm excited to work with those. Expand my Orthopteran collection. Yes. Got some like Ergola CF sulfoides from Brandon, the hobby stock Pelosa. I'm excited to see adults of these and compare them to the stock Martin has from Thailand. And just confirm that they're the same species. I'm pretty sure they are, but it's really hard to find pictures of the specific features I'm looking for. I even asked people for those, and I got some decent pictures, but I want better ones showing the pronotum morphology, so more in focus. So, you know, you want something done right, you do it yourself. And I've never had these before, so, you know, figure, might as well get these. I'm also going to get Ergola capucina from Kyle, hopefully. And, just... yeah, and then the only hobby choroidids I'll be missing are Polyphagus osiri and regular Eupolyphagus sinensis. Those, ironically, yeah, those are going to be the harder to come by. Oh, God. The Typhloisca are getting out. I didn't realize that it was the container I was opening. There's Typhloisca running everywhere. Get out! Get back in there. Get all over my hands. What's going on? Okay. I smashed one by accident, but there were like a dozen on the lid, so you know I call that's pretty good odds. Okay, get back in. That's funny. Kyle was mentioning on a live stream recently that he's Typhloisca. It's hard to tell how many he has because he gave them cork bark and they bore into it. And I had known from Brandon that he gave some to Brandon and he gave his cork bark and I did the same thing. So I gave mine cork bark too because, you know, the more hide choices they have, the better. But yeah, so I probably have quite a few in here. Quite a few larger nymphs than I think I do that are just hiding in there. But yeah, there's a lot of little babies everywhere. So still some adults too. I did pretty good this generation. Not a single person has bought these from me yet, though, which is kind of sad, considering they're like one of the coolest Orthopterans I have. Really big, you know, arboreal crickets. Who doesn't love that? They don't chirp. They don't smell. I feel like my pricing for them isn't that high. I might have to lower it more. But yeah, these are some of the neatest crickets we have in the hobby. You know, any orthopteran you can keep communally that doesn't, you know, exclusively eat live plant matter and doesn't smell or chirp is like an instant win in my book, I feel. What next? Blabbers. Here's your, well, no, actually, first, some more bat food. Alright. Blabber Chimera Joera. Leftover cut up superworms I just threw in with the blabbers. I'm sure they'll eat them. Darklings. Well, I skipped an entire shelf of Darklings for some reason. I have to take care of those. And I'm gonna have to refill this water in a sec. Okay. Yeah, this is out of water. It's getting a little raspy there. Alright, I will be right back with this. Oh, hope you can get those photos for comparison. Yes, I hope so too, Martin. I hope so too. Alright, gonna get water and I'll be right back. Okay. I'm back. Good morning, Crystal Pets and Plants. Good morning. Going hunting for Quadranut of Toda, but this time using Alan's banana trick. Yeah, hopefully that works. I feel like they would love that. Yeah, that and like, there's like a trick that people are like saying that you can lure Paraplaneta americana with like beer, like fermented beer traps, something like that. I've read online before. I wonder if something like that, like fermented, like beer mixed with like mushed up bananas, might be very appealing to them as well. But honestly, probably just the banana trick alone should hopefully work. Hopefully you can find a bunch and get them breeding. It'd be amazing. Have a nice Paraplaneta, Quadrinotata. Those and like some, what is it? Neostylopiga sexpustulata are like two species of like, long-term hobby genre, I guess, that have pretty species in them that people have been wanting for a while. So it would be really nice to have Quadrinotata in culture. I know, I don't know if Sexpustulata, Neostylopiga sexpustulata are in culture in Europe per se. I know someone in Ukraine who has them, but obviously I can't get anything from Ukraine right now, which really sucks. Same with Russia. And I beer those always catch them. Yeah, that's so that might work. Funny enough, that might work for Quadrinotata, although that's I wouldn't just leave the beer bottles out because that's littering, and you might get in trouble for that in Thailand. Um, but yeah, beer in general, I think something about that, the smell is like appealing to urchins. I guess because it smells god awful. And tastes awful too. They like that. uh, I drink beer. It doesn't taste good. I had some absinthe for the first time ever, like a week ago, and if you like black licorice flavor, I would recommend it, but I don't, so it tastes like god awful to me. Like it's just alcoholic black licorice taste and gross, really gross. I didn't even get that buzzed off of it either. So I have this big old bottle of absinthe that I don't know what I'm gonna do. There's a lot more Grylus CF firmus nymphs in here than I thought there were. There's a lot. I might part with a group or two of these in the coming months, maybe. There is an awful lot of them in here, to be honest. Alright. I know someone was asking for them. Alright, so this... oh yeah, no, I still have all of these dark things to do. still. See the live chat. I wish the live chat would stay up longer on these, on the mobile version. And Darklings are a weird one, like, they don't sell well by any means for me. I just keep them for my own personal enjoyment, but every now and then I get like a couple customers that will just go through and buy like groups of almost every Darkling species I have like available at once. So like, when I do get Darkling orders, they're usually pretty nice. I get like a bunch of species all at once sold, but most of the time, no one is buying any of them. But not that I particularly care. You know, I mean, it's always nice when things pay for themselves, but Darklings I keep more for my own enjoyment than anything. I mean, that really goes for everything I keep, to be honest. But Darklings especially. Okay. And I was attempting to paint some of these Darklings in deli cups within the enclosures that the adults are in, but that keeps failing for some reason. So, yeah, I'm just gonna do my normal method of not doing that. Which one are these? These are the Extricata El Prado. I should probably start pupating some of these. Normally. The only exception are pie dish beetles. Those always sell. Those sell pretty well. And I don't have blue death fanning beetles, but if I bred blue death fanning beetles and was able to rear them in substantial quantities, I'm pretty sure those would be good sellers as well. But that's a ton of work. I don't know that I would ever do that. I don't know that it would be worth it to rear that many just to sell. Like, the amount of effort put into breeding mass quantities of Asbolus versus the money you'd get out of that, considering they're already caught in like wholesale quantities as wild caught adults, you would not make much of a profit. And for the amount of effort you put into that, which kind of sucks, but so if I ever get blue death fanning beetles, I'll breed them for me, but I don't think I would ever get to the point where I'd start selling adults until I make bug keeping my full-time job, in which case, yeah, then maybe. But I'm a little ways from that, sadly. We got 3 people on right now. Nice. If anyone has any questions or anything, feel free to leave them in the chat and I'll answer them. Obs. Kind of ran out of talking material. I said a whole bunch of stuff, some bunch of updates at the beginning of the stream. when there was nobody there, which was probably a mistake, but... cigarette beetles have infested my Huckleberry Darkling Beetle container. That's great. Oh, I thought I did have another update though that I found yesterday. Isopod related. Not sure. I forget. But speaking of captive bred as bullets, I'm always amazed how much water you put inside your enclosures. Yeah, man, I live in a freaking desert with a heater right there. Yeah, that pumping hot air out, hot dry air out all the time, and the central heating for the house is on now that it's winter, so the air is super dry. So everything dries out a lot. So I have to water a lot to keep the substrate hydrated. Yeah, it's horrible living in a desert. But speaking of captive bred as bolus, though, here's a freshly matured captive bred as bolus mexicanus, Mexican death feigning beetle, and then we got a captive bred, recently matured, Cryptoglossa infausta. I don't think there's not really a common name for these, but it's another one of the death feigning beetles, one of the least commonly kept ones as far as I know. So yeah, getting, we're like a couple adults of these a year. And that's enough to keep my colonies going, but I've not been putting substantial effort into rearing those in mass quantities in my collection yet. That might be a project for next year. But we'll see. Yeah, like a lot of these darkling beetle enclosures, they pretty much dry out except for a little area of the substrate in between my waterings, because the darklings need a lot of ventilation. So they dry out very fast, and they like it mostly dry, but the larva definitely needs some more humidity. So yeah, I basically just let a little puddle form on top of the substrate in the moist area as I'm misting them before I call it good. Yeah. Go through a lot of water for these. That's for sure. What is this? Is this... No, this is my former Lloydes Eschnolti enclosure, but then I figured out I had a male Eschnolti and a female Longicollis, so I dumped in Alan's Lloydes Longicollis that he just sent me into this setup. And I removed, if you're watching this, Alan, I did remove that female Longicollis that Tao sent, since it's obviously from a different locality, and may or may not be Longicollis, but it's something in that subgenus. But yeah, I removed her, obviously, and put her in something else. So yeah, so this enclosure only has Alan's Aloides Longicollis larva in it now, which will hopefully be able to rear to maturity. These are the Matfium depressum. These. I got some pupating communally, but I feel like I need to start isolating some as well. I also need another hide. These I'm gonna start out there. I think these need more substrate in general. These Aloides dissimilis. I do have some more. There's more coconut fiber. Yeah, thanks to Andrew Johnston, my Darkwing Beetle taxonomist contact. He has identified some of the Aloides that Kyle sent me. The Aloides species Paradise Arizona, we now know, are Aloides dissimilis, and the Aloides El Prado, New Mexico, are Aloides extricata. Nice to put names to these things. Aloides dissimilis. I already have an extricata locality from Utah. It's a little different than these. Slightly different elytral striation than the El Prado, New Mexico line. But Aloides dissimilis I've never seen in culture before. And I think that's a subgenus Metablappus species. So that's like with Aloides nigrina, another species I've kept before. But I think those two might be the only representatives of that genus that have entered culture. So nice addition for sure to the hobby. An extricata, I think, is in the same subgenus as Aloides Riley, which I've bred for years. I think there's another. I forget which subgenus it is. I don't think it's Promus. I think it's. Yeah, I really don't remember the subgenus name for those. Maybe it is Promus. Either way. Nice new species for culture. They're dissimilis. Which, here, might as well try to show one off on camera. These are the Aloides dissimilis. It's more of a slightly slender species. Some of the females come out quite rotund, but yeah. Neat. Very quick to release defensive fluid. So, like, I'm literally misting them and I smell the chemical defense. But, yeah. Neat little species for sure. Very prolific, too. It was funny, Andrew Johnston was, like, asking me, like, oh, that's neat, I've never heard of those being bred before. You know, and he's a scientist, and he's like, he may have tried culturing them before, but so he was, like, asking me what substrate did I use to induce oviposition, and I'm like, just coconut fiber. Just plain coconut fiber. That's it. Not even sand mixed in. I literally just have these on coconut fiber, and they produce so many offspring. So, yeah. I mean, that's what I keep most of my darklings on. It's a pretty good base material for darklings. Like they pretty eagerly overposit in it usually. Some species prefer a little bit more sand, but yeah, most Aloides at least will just overposit in bare cocoa fiber. No complaints. I'm kind of surprised. I got these Cyanus angustus going, these larger black flower beetles, but that's, I think, in comparison, that common name is in comparison to like Tribolium flower beetles, which these are bigger than Tribolium for sure, but they're still like only 5 or 6 millimeters long. Maybe 7 at the most. They're really, it's a really small species of darkling. Grain pest, supposedly, but I think I've tried rearing them on raw, like just dry grain before, and they didn't do that well. They definitely like more moisture, so I got them on, coconut fiber, and then a bunch of dog food in one corner on the dry side, and then a moist half as well. And I have tons of them now. I put them up for sale, and I'm interested in I'm surprised by the lack of people inquiring about them. Because people usually go nuts for alternative grain pest, darkling beetle types that they could use as feeders. Tribolium, Alphidobius, Nidus even, Tenebrae obscurus. People are always like, oh, these are neat. These are like mealworms but different, or mealworms but smaller. And they're all, I think literally all of these are in the Tenebrae tribe. Yeah, no one has inquired about the Cyanus. I'm kind of surprised. I thought more people would be interested in them. Because I think they'll make for a decent micro feeder. I'm running out of water again, guys. But yeah, you know what? Their loss. It's a neat micro feeder species that. I thought the same thing with the Compsodies too. I thought people would be so much more interested in Compsodies than they are. And those are like some of the best microfeeder roaches I've ever had. I think, especially for dart frogs and stuff. And those dart frog keepers are always looking for new feeders they can feed their dart frogs. And like those, I feel like they'd work amazing for. And yet, not a lot of people want them. Although with the Compsodies, at least, it's kind of understandable because the males can climb and fly, and people don't like climbing and flying roaches because they're scaredy cats. They're wimps. They can't handle climbing and flying roaches. Half of my collection is climbing and flying roaches. Which should I start keeping first, beetles or roaches? Okay, that's a bit of a complicated answer. I started keeping roaches as pets first, so I had like male hissers. When I was a kid and I lived in Florida, I did breed Suriname roaches for a short time. Um, but then when I really started expanding my collection, I kept a bunch of like male hissers as pets. My mom did not want me to breed roaches at that time when I was a kid. She wasn't keen on that. Um, so to ease her into me keeping roaches, period, I got like male hissers as pets, a single unmated female peppered roach. So I started keeping roaches as pets first, but I started catching and breeding beetles like about a year after that. So like in terms of like breeding stuff consistently for multiple generations, I've been breeding beetles longer, darkling beetles specifically, some rove beetles and carabids as well back then, but mostly darkling beetles because that's what's most diverse here in Idaho. Um, so I've been breeding beetles longer, I would say, than roaches. I wouldn't really count the Suriname roaches I bred in Florida as, you know, consistently breeding something because like, those are parthenogenetic and there's not much skill that goes into that. It's just a tub of dirt, right? Um, and they breed on their own. So I started keeping roaches as pets first, but I started breeding beetles seriously first. And then a couple of years after I'd been breeding beetles and like eye spots and stuff, then I started. By then, my mom had kind of caved in, and I started getting breeding groups of exotic roaches to breed. Uh, I remember the first exotic roaches that I got seriously to like in breeding groups to try to breed. It was from Kyle at Roach Crossing. I got groups of Polyphaga caesuri and Polyphaga aegyptiaca and Rhabdoblata formosana, or Rhabdoblata rustica now is the ID. Those three I got breeding groups of first because he was having like a Super Bowl sale back in like 2015. 2015, I think 2015. Yeah. And then shortly after that, I made an order from Bugs in Cyberspace. I got myself question mark roaches, domino roaches, uh, what's the other one? Orange domino roaches, Burmese beetle mimics, the Irigala capucina, and then horseshoe crab roaches I got around that same time as well. I forget if it was from Kyle or from Peter Clausen. But yeah, so that's when I started breeding roaches. But at that time, I'd been culturing several darkling species for years. So yeah, so that's my answer. A bit convoluted. So yeah, in terms of just keeping stuff as pets, I've had roaches longer, but in terms of actually breeding stuff, I've been breeding beetles longer. So yeah, I'm gonna go get more water, and I will be right back. Oops, let me see. And continuing on talking about darklings, though. Now, I'm on that rant. At the time, the only source of information for breeding darklings really were Oren McMonagle's books, and to some extent, that's still not including my care sheets. That really is most of the information that's out there right now for breeding darklings is what's in Oren's books. Um, And I just think it's kind of crazy because like the information in his books is not incorrect. Most of it is still holds up and is like the base for my husbandry methodology for sure. But he had only he's only really successfully kept and bred like a few species multi-generationally. And I'm pretty sure that I have kept and successfully bred for at least 1 to 2 generations more species of darkling than anyone else in the world, as far as I'm aware. Perhaps excluding certain scientists rearing stuff for laboratory purposes, but even then, I think I've kept more than most of them. Because first of all, Idaho has pretty diverse selection of darkling beetles. So even just stuff that I caught here, I've caught like at least like 20 different species of darklings from here in Idaho, probably more. I'd have to actually count it out. But then I've also gotten lots of species from around the U.S. as well, from other breeders and other collectors. So, all in all, I think for right now, I think I have the largest tenebrionid collection in the world. And over the years, I think I've kept and bred more species than anyone else has as well. Now, that's not as impressive as it sounds because they aren't that popular to begin with. Like, there's a few darkling species like blue death fanning beetles, Pinatheca coronata, certain like Aloides armata, stuff that gets collected very frequently in large numbers and distributed in the pet trade, just as pets, not with the intention to breed, just for people to pop into a bone dry desert tank and keep alive for a couple years as adults. But in terms of breeding darklings, other than of course, the few grain pest species that are commonly used as feeders, like mealworms and superworms and so on, in terms of actually breeding these species, these more pet species, it is not that many people that would bother. So, saying you have the largest collection of something that not a lot of people try to keep and breed anyways, it's not that impressive. But it is a fact that I have. I still have a little bit of pride in. But yeah, it's not all that, not all that impressive. But and of course, I've bred like every species except for the most popular ones. I've not bred blue death fanning beetles. I've gotten every time I've gotten them, like I got a couple larvae back when I didn't even know how to keep their larvae successfully, and those didn't, make it to adulthood. And then I got adult beetles last year that were infected with parasitic wasps. So I've never been able to get like a healthy breedable group of blue death fanning beetles. And then Pinatheca coronata, I've got larvae before, but again, I didn't fully know how to care for their larvae. Now I know better, but too little too late. And I've not been able to get adults of those either successfully. So, yeah, that's kind of funny. Aloides armata, that's a pretty popular species. I am breeding those, though. Those are easy. But not as in demand as the other two I listed. I saw. Darkling Beetle Pioneer going on has gone before. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I would like to write a book about breeding. I'll probably write a book about breeding darklings before I write a book about keeping roaches in my life, because I definitely feel more knowledgeable. Like with roaches, I would have to keep for me to feel comfortable keeping roaches, I would have to keep and breed every species of roach that's in the hobby, especially all like the feeders and stuff. And I've not kept most of the common hobby species, so I don't feel qualified to write a book by myself about keeping roaches, even though I've kept more roaches than I've kept darklings, just because there's more variety in the hobby of roaches versus darklings. But darklings, on the other hand, I have bred more species than anyone else, and so I would feel, especially if I breed freaking blue death painting beetles, then I think I will be qualified to write a book about keeping darklings, and it'll be much more expansive and informative than Oren McMonagle's books. Which still, again, credit to Oren, it's thanks to the information that he compiled at the time that I was able to leap off of that and diversify and refine my husbandry, methodologies, basically. Just like took his base information and adapted it to fit more species, and so yeah, I would like to publish a fairly large book on breeding darkling beetles at some point. Would be pretty neat. But yeah. And then too with that too, like you gotta include the feeder species. And like I've bred feeder species, obviously. They're the easiest darklings to breed. But like I haven't bred them in quantities that most people who want to breed feeder species would breed them for, right? Like I don't have like racks and racks of mealworms that I separate by size and to sift them out and feed them to certain size lizards and stuff. I don't do that. I just breed them kind of haphazardly because I don't really use them as feeders that often, so I have no reason to breed thousands and thousands of mealworms and superworms. But I feel like I would need to include information on how to do that in a darkling beetle book, so I'd have to do that. I don't know, but in the distant future, I want to write books on breeding stuff, and darklings will probably be one of the first things I write a book for, basically. What I'm getting at. Because it's something I feel qualified to talk about. There's sometimes people come to me like, "Oh, you're the roach guy, you're the roach expert," and I'm like, "No, I'm a roach enthusiast. I would not consider myself an expert. I'm still learning. There's a lot of species of roaches that I failed with that I don't know why I failed with. And, I consider myself an amateur enthusiast. Darklings, I would feel I still wouldn't call myself an expert. I don't like calling myself an expert on anything because it just feels, I don't know. It feels like if you call yourself an expert, like you're saying you're all knowing, and there's always stuff to learn, right? So yeah, I wouldn't call myself an expert on most things, but if there were something I would call myself an expert on, at least compared to other people in the hobby, darklings would probably be the thing that I would say. But again, I probably wouldn't say that to begin with. These deli cups I'm taking care of, by the way, are a bunch of death feigning beetle larvae. They need to be kept separately for maximum survival rates, and certainly for pupation. So I got like a little box here in it. Getting these fed up. What's this one into here? Alright, these are done. Those are done now. Let's get this stack. How are these doing? Uh-oh. Eesh. My Cynodillo Vietnams let them dry out a little too much. Yeah, they're fine. They're just all at the bottom. Yikes. But yeah, these guys definitely need some water right now. Okay. Water, and I gotta get that leaf litter sterilized soon. I gotta up the leaf litter and a bunch of my isopod setups. Emma macropenesthia as well. Might throw some more in with my Saban Rebecca Andromeda. Last ditch effort to get those going. Although I have given them leaf litter in the past and they didn't really do much with it. These. Oh, these. Isopods and Compsodiums. Yeah, I'm trying to get all this maintenance done, and then I have to make enclosures for the stuff that's coming today. It's a bit annoying. I ran out of coconut fiber, I didn't realize, so now that's gonna be a problem. Well, substrate for the stuff that's coming, so I'm ordering that today, but in the meantime, I have to be creative. Okay, what we got here? We got the Arizona camel crickets. These guys have dried out a little bit too much as well. Between waterings, it's a bit annoying. God, I enjoyed that. These guys definitely have a very strong jump on them. Their enclosure is about a foot tall, and I've made sure the hides aren't that high up. And they still get out when I do maintenance on them. But yeah, they are very good at jumping. Jumped right back out. Oh my god. I'm gonna have to actually. Alright, I'm gonna spray it a little bit more. And then I'm just gonna pour water in there actually. Because that doesn't agitate them as much. This really dried out too much. That should be good though. Of course, they are nothing compared to my giant camel crickets. In terms of size and their ability to jump, these guys can jump several feet with each leap. Yeah, I rehoused these guys, and I still don't know just how well they're doing since they rehoused. It's my hope that they will be a little bit more fecund. This bigger setup. One of them just jumped out and I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. Where did it go? Where are you? I don't understand where it went. Hello? These guys are real quick. Well, that one's just gone. You kidding me? Problem is, whenever one of these escapes, it's always my sisters that find them. They aren't really too keen on them. But he's literally disappeared. I have no idea where it went. Well, that sucks. anyways, hopefully, I'm hoping in this new setup they're gonna breed better and be able to have more nymphs in an enclosure at the same time because there's more hides. So, oh, speaking of which, I do have some more bark that I wanted to give these guys. This. As much surface area as possible. Yeah, I have no idea where that small nymph just jumped out to, but hopefully it will turn up. My sisters don't really like getting out. Welcome back in. Oh, okay. Goodbye, Martin. It might be too late since you wrote that, but I'll see you later. Let's see. These are doing. Looks like it's a little dry in here still, to be honest. Alright, that should be fine. That should be fine. What else? Alright, now for the more miscellaneous crap. We got my meal moth culture in here. Which I don't know. See, I had my meal moths in a much smaller enclosure, and then they bred, but then I think I was too slow to rehouse them to something larger. So I don't know if there's still larvae in here. I hope there are. That I can get a colony going with. But we'll see. And we got one of my cultures of Euchinaria. Euchinaria apheroides. Nice yellow Paduramorpha springtail. Delilator Physoderus, which, by the way, guys, if anyone wants Delilator Physoderus bioluminescent click beetles, they are one of the smaller species, but they're still pretty easy to breed. These are all the larvae I have. I'm not bothering. I have my own holdbacks that I separated, but I'm not bothering to isolate these. You know, up until people buy them. So, like, they are eating each other slowly. They're still, you know, they're still at the stage where they're eating a little bit of the substrate at least, so they're not completely carnivorous yet, but they are starting to dwindle in numbers. So if anyone wants them from this generation, you know, this is kind of like last call for anybody who wants these. So just have that in mind. These are not going to be available for too much longer. Next year, I hope I will have Igniolator havanensis available, which is a larger species of bioluminescent click beetle. So those will be up for grabs, but the Deliolator, the cute little Deliolator, are not going to be available for probably another 2 years, at least. So, if you wanted that species, now's the time to get them. Alright, now, taking care of my Anacondalia ceratissima. A cute little, probably one of these smaller species. Second smallest species of Penistinae we have in the US hobby. They're cute. I like them a lot. Very dark colored species. Just as easy as any other Penistinae. And I got those available on my website as well now, in case anybody wants these. Brand new to culture, only a very small handful of people in the US have these at the moment. And, you know, for the people that like the wood-eating stuff, this is a nice addition for sure. Let me polish off one of these. So this is a somewhat freshly matured Anacondalia ceratissima. Pretty small for this tribe, but cute. They will lose these wings as they age. They nibble and scratch them off of each other. Because they don't really need them. Once they realize, oh, I'm in a suitable habitat, they don't need them because these wings are solely for dispersal. In Penistinae, kind of similar to termites in that regard. Once they don't need their wings, they start chewing them off. But yeah, so I got some of these available if anyone wants them. Along with Anacondalia hamifera, their much larger cousin, and Penistia angustipennis cognata cambodia. I might have Salgania ragi available in the coming months. I just rehoused those to a much larger enclosure, so with much more substrate, so those are probably going to start ramping up in production here pretty quickly. Yeah. I got my book, my bark lice. What species? Ectosochus richardsi, I think, is the species. Yeah, these guys are doing pretty good. They like a little bit more humidity than I thought they did, but they like air humidity, not surface humidity, which is the slightly annoying part about them, but not too difficult to breed, and mine have really started kicking off lately in this setup. More Euchinaria, because of course I love these guys. I got a couple bins of them, couple cups. I really want to get the Thailand red the Lobella species Thailand red. Those would be amazing. If they're as hardy as the oranges. Like, the oranges took me by surprise with the fact that they do not care about predatory mites, whereas a lot of other, springtails I've kept, as soon as you get the predatory mites getting in there, they just kind of die. But these guys have thrived, and if anything, outcompeted the predatory mites. And then I have this cup. Oh, that's interesting. I have a cup of substrate from New York that I had some springtails in. Certainly one species of springtail has emerged triumphant. It's a small blue species. Which is not what I was really hoping for. There were isotoma in here too, that I was hoping would kick off, but I don't think I got enough of those to breed. But some sort of small blue Puduromorph or Isotomidae looking springtails in here, as well as some slugs. Some like little itty bitty slugs. I didn't think I got slugs. I guess slug eggs. Huh. Well, those are in here now. There's a couple of them, so if they like it in there, they'll breed. Interesting. Wasn't expecting that. Yeah, again, that guy here in Idaho, he gave me some stuff that he made himself, some springtail food, springtail / isopod food. They wanted me to test out. So far, the results, I think artificial pollen, that Bee Pro pollen stuff, has been more voraciously received by everything in terms of a powder food compared to this stuff. This stuff appears to be, he didn't tell me the ingredients obviously, but just from looking at it, you can see there's clearly yeast, probably like active dry yeast. I think he blended up rice. Looks like rice granules that have been blended up, and then there's something else that's like flaky and white that I don't know, maybe some like calcium thing. I don't really know what that is. But it looks like mostly yeast and rice. So, springtails seem to eat it a bit, and it gets limited reactions out of isopods, but definitely nothing like crazy. If anything, I would recommend that Bee Pro pollen, artificial pollen that I use, is much more widely received, voraciously eaten, powderized food, and probably more protein rich as well. So, yeah. And I'm gonna go fill up some water. I'll be right back. These Scolopendra species, Idaho, blue tiger centipedes. It's like, if anybody wants these, please let me know. I've been trying to get rid of them. I'm really bored with them. If anyone wants to trade them, or like, I'm selling them for what I consider pretty cheap, but if anyone wants to trade for them too instead, like, hit me up. I really don't want them anymore. They're just boring to me. But I know some of you people go nuts for centipedes, so like, I don't know. Maybe I should post about them in like a centipede forum or something. Like, I don't know. I just really am bored with mine. predators are less and less appealing to me in terms of things that I like to keep. I'm finding out. Okay. Bristle millipedes. And I've moved them to a larger enclosure because their old setup kept drying out too fast. And this one seems like it's drying out a little too slowly, but yeah, I'm trying to get a nice colony of bristle millipedes going because those are really cute and seemingly not too difficult. They just need ventilation. Lots of it. Oh boy, Clogmia are doing great, as always. A couple pieces of food, and a couple of water. Cetomyma. There's a couple adults. Nothing crazy. Completely dried out in there though. Well, almost. Anyways, I got a guy that wants to video chat me on how to keep these successfully. One of my previous customers was unable to get his Cetomyma established for some reason, so I'll video chat him. But it's super easy. Like it's literally just this crappy deli cup. So it was like the sludge down here was once leaf litter, but not anymore. And there's a little bit of water on top of that. Like really, some of the easiest inverts I've ever kept. And I don't need to top off the leaf litter in there probably, but I'm going to though, because it just looks nicer when there's leaf litter in there. But yeah, these like mothflies are some of the easiest invertebrates to keep in my experience. So. Oh boy. Okay. This is Panestia angustipennis cognata colony, which is ridiculously large at the moment. I'm gonna have to rehouse these soon too, to be honest. Yeah, these guys. I have like a million of these. Okay. They're fed. And then these, Sylgania raggi, I just rehoused to a very large setup because they are one of the largest Panesinae I have. And since Salgania will basically consume barely dead wood, in my experience, these guys, I just bought some like sawdust pellets, moistened them up, mixed in a little bit of their old substrate into it, and then mixed that in with the wettened sawdust, and left it for a few days till it just didn't smell quite as, fresh raw sawdusty. And then I just dumped them in. I just dumped all of them and their old substrate into it and mixed it all up, along with some bigger rotten wood chunks as well, so that they have something to feed on until the sawdust properly ages. But the sawdust is already kind of starting to degrade now that it's been mixed in with the Penasene substrate, so it will probably become nutritious and palatable to them quite quickly. And in the meantime, they're certainly doing okay. They are utilizing the space to make lots of tunnels, so if I had to guess, I'm going to be starting to get several more litters of these pretty quickly. But my nymphs from my last few litters are already subadults, and some are fresh adults even, so yeah, the breeding in this container is going to ramp up pretty quickly. Which is great, because these are one of the largest and fastest growing Penasene in culture at the moment, so I would like to make these more widely available. I did just send some back to Ty Randall. A couple weeks ago, he lost his culture, he thinks, due to Trichorina tomentosa getting in. Yikes. So those probably just degraded the substrate too much. But, yeah. I have no such devil's rice in my roach enclosure, so these Salgania ragi are going to proliferate very well, I think, in their new bin. So, it's really heavy though, my god. Just big old 5-gallon bucket of wood, basically. More Penasene here. We got Panacea, Angustipennis. Yay! The Goldwings. And I basically gave away all my nymphs of these Goldwings to Kai and Tile in the last couple packages I sent them. But obviously I have adults that I'm expecting more babies out of. And lo and behold, I just found a fresh brood. So that should be like 20 more nymphs. So, yay. I gambled a little bit with that, but I figured, I mean, these adults are going to be alive for a few more years and should continue to give birth for, until they die. So, yeah, these already got more babies from them, so that's good. And I have to get some to Brandon, and then I think that'll basically be it for, and maybe Junior too. And then maybe Kai if he wants them. And then I think that'll be everyone in the US that that I will like basically owe these to, and then that should be it. Yeah, these I might rehouse as well, because I kind of want to bulk up the numbers of the Goldwinged Penasene, Angustipennis, obviously. Salgania and Serta. Probably need to rehouse these as well soon. nice thing about Pennsine is I usually don't have to water them that much in between waterings because I give them very little ventilation and deep substrate. So they don't dry out much in between waterings, which is essential because if they did dry out, they would die very quickly. Pennsine basically have one weakness, and that is drying out. That and running out of edible substrate. Once their substrate is completely degraded, it's, you know, they start having problems. Alright. Well, we're down to just a few isopod species, and I'm going to be done with maintenance for today. Like I said, I did do most of my maintenance yesterday. All the roach maintenance, really, I did yesterday. And not a whole lot of updates from that. The few that I had were pretty good. Chalipus raphki. So, like, a lot of isopods in my experience will breed without leaf litter, at least for a little bit. I know Brandon Maines, he barely gives any of his isopods leaf litter, and they all breed like rabbits for him, so I don't know what the deal is with that. A lot of mine seem to do best with leaf litter, though. But there are quite a few that will go quite a while without leaf litter and still breed, at least in smaller numbers for me. But obviously I do try to keep most things topped off with leaf litter, but Trichelopus rathke, though, that is one species that I've noticed, like, I get absolutely no reproduction from them until they got leaf litter. I'm not sure why that is, but in my experience, those really do not do well until I start giving them leaf litter. I might have been without leaf litter for a few months now, and they've crashed pretty hard. But now that I just got some in, as soon as I sterilize that, which I probably will after the stream, I'll give them some, and that'll hopefully get them going again. But yeah, I don't know, that's just a weird little observation I've noticed, that, yeah, T. rathke definitely seemed not to breed at all without leaf litter for me. Last 4 containers. Okay. Alabama. Mitikoniscus Metcalfe. These guys still have a little bit of food in here, so I'm not gonna. Those, same with the Chikorina. This is Puerto Rico. Texas Mitikoniscus Metcalfe. And my babies, my Onychus Asellus Mardi Gras Dalmatians, which are doing pretty well. Again, those species that seems to do best when they have ample leaf litter in their diet. So I need to top these off as well. Alright. That's going to do it for the stream today. Thanks everyone who joined in. Thanks Martin especially for participating in the chat. But that is going to do it for today's maintenance. Thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye.